and just want to welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon. For some on the West Coast, good very early morning, top of the morning to you. Thanks for joining us here on this Power Hour for ICPHSO. I'm Len Morrissey, and I have the privilege of being the planning chair for the 2023 annual symposium that we're planning in February 20th to 23rd, 2023 down in the Grand Hyatt or the Hyatt Grand Cypress in Orlando. So we really want to welcome everyone here. Thank you for being here. This is something a little different that we're trying. So hopefully this is a helpful discussion and provides information that we need moving forward. Also want to just recognize we have Mark Schoem, who's our executive director for ICPHSO. We have Aaron Cole, who's our Cracker Jack staff behind the scenes, making sure everything runs right. And Kim Mason, who's our treasurer and who just recently ran the fantastic program that we had in Seattle. So I'm hoping that all three of you will keep me on the straight and narrow here and correct anything that I mess up in our instructions, and please chime in with any thoughts to help out here. So couple quick things, housekeeping things first off. If you can mute your line if you're not talking for the benefit of everybody, especially Don Mays, if you could keep yours muted the whole time. And then also you can use the hand raising feature to make sure that we recognize you. This is an interactive session, so everyone will be able to speak, and if there are questions as we go along. This whole session is really an attempt to make sure that all your questions are answered concerning how to submit proposals into the ICPHSO session, and make sure that we have some really successful and high quality programming for our upcoming session. This session will be recorded, so keep that in mind, but it will also be available afterwards if there are things that you miss or we need to go back to and refer to. So with that, any other questions or housekeeping things before we get into the actual program itself? Okay, great. Well, as I said, this is something a little different. The ICPHSO program is generated by ideas from the safety community at large. That's all of you. So what I want to cover today is talk just a little bit about the conference, and then talk about the proposal specifically, about what we're looking for, things that have in the past have traditionally made for really good programming. Talk a little bit about the selection process, and then I'll go through some tips that we've seen, some do's and some don'ts, and then make sure that we answer the questions that you all have, so that you're prepared to submit some great proposals. So about the conference, first off, it would help to know a little bit about ICPHSO. So I'm hoping that most of you are members of ICPHSO, and if you're not, I strongly encourage you to become members of ICPHSO. One of the things, and the reason I want to talk about who we are, is because as we go through talking about the proposals, we want to make sure that we're really putting in topics that represent the diversity of ICPHSO and really hit all the different perspectives that make up our product safety base. So, you know, ICPHSO is made up of manufacturers, retailers, distributors, consumers, parent advocate representatives. We have regulators, and not just regulators. A lot of our flavor comes from, domestically from the CPSC, but we're really a global organization and address global regulatory issues. Academia, service providers, and a whole host of other product safety and health stakeholders. So that really is the community that we're looking to address. So we're looking to address issues that affect those folks, or we're looking to address issues that are affecting you, in your everyday lives, in conjunction with the ICPHSO mission. So the proposals that come in, just some dates about those proposals. So we're looking to release the proposal solicitation on or about July 25th. And then once that happens, we'll looking for proposals, and we're going to close the date for those around September 16th. That will give our group time to review, vet the proposals, and then we'll anticipate communicating back out to the proposals that are selected around October. So those are some dates for you to keep in mind. So July 25th, and on or about there, you'll see the solicitation. The closing date will be September 16th, and then expect communications back in October. So any questions about that so far? Pretty basic info. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the proposals and kind of general guidelines on what we're looking for. So our proposals, number one, you'll see, we'll show a jot form about how the solicitation looks at the end of this program. But really, the proposals aren't intended to be theses or intended to be long dissertations. They should be short and concise and really focus on the issue that we're trying to address. We've seen proposals that come in with a lot of great information, but really don't link back to the product safety mission of ICPHSO. So we want them to be short and concise, but really focus on the key points that you're trying to get across. Now, sessions can come in a bunch of different flavors. We can have plenary sessions, which are generally used for topics that are good for the entire order. So, and big macro issues. In the past, we've had things like supply chain issues, recall effectiveness, critical safety things. But we can also do smaller, more targeted, more educational type of programming and breakouts or trainings or tutorials. So your topic does not have to be all encompassing. It just needs to be relevant and something that would be of interest to the folks. So keep in mind, there are different types of programs that you could put forward. One of the things that we're really looking for is to make sure that we have fresh material and more importantly, fresh perspectives. So there are, we're looking for new topics always. So just, you don't have to fall into a certain formula. If there's something that's new or something that's current that you want to address, that's fair game for one of these proposals. But we do want fresh material. That doesn't mean if there's a traditional topic that we deal with, things like recall effectiveness or others, it doesn't mean it is discounted. These are important things to the membership, but we just want to make sure we're taking fresh perspectives on anything that we put forward. In addition to that, we're really wanting to make sure that we have a diversity of perspectives in our proposals. We don't want to get pigeonholed into speaking to just one or just a few segments of the community that we're servicing. So we do ask for a diversity of experts and perspectives. We want the proposals to be balanced. So if your topic comes in from a particular perspective, I went in earlier as to the different stakeholder groups that make up our community. We want to make sure that we're being holistic in any proposal or topic that we're trying to address. Other key things that we're looking for with proposals are things that would lend themselves more to audience interaction. We have a bunch of tools with our polling, with the apps that we have, back question and answer type sessions. We'd much prefer those types of formats than a more of a lecture style or just folks getting up and doing, having 3 or 4 people to do presentations on PowerPoint. We really have in the past have gotten away from that. And I think that those have really tended to be the most successful. And in our survey material that comes back, the feedback has been that they have been the ones that have been the most welcomed by the membership and the attendees. So we're looking for those types of elements to be included in proposals as well. Typically, we have a maximum of 3 speakers with a moderator. So in a moderator, so if you're going to be doing in a moderator role, the preference would be not to have someone that is essentially just a 4th presenter, but someone who has the ability to elicit information from folks, ask questions, keep discussions going. Again, we found that those tend to be really the ones that are most valuable for folks and provide the best information. One thing about moderators, if you are volunteering to be a moderator or suggesting someone to be a moderator, they do need to be an ICPHSO member. It's preferred that all the speakers are ICPHSO members, but the moderators, there is a requirement for that. So that is the some high level details about the proposal itself, and kind of some of the things that we're looking for. I will take a pause here and ask Mark or Aaron or Kim if there are things that I missed in the overall proposals, or if there's questions on that before we get into the deeper dive.
Well, let me just, I guess, remind everybody what our mission is. You talked about we tried to accommodate and meet our mission. Our mission really is about bringing all the stakeholders together into one neutral forum and presenting different perspectives. So when we talk about a balanced panel, that's why where you may have a manufacturer, then it probably is appropriate to also have a consumer or parent advocate, just to balance it. And we don't shy away from controversial subjects. So you should not feel that you are deterred by submitting a proposal that might be somewhat controversial. Again, as long as there's a balanced perspective and we hear all points of view, I think that's important. The only other really key point is that we shy away from and we don't allow any commercial messages. So oftentimes we'll get a proposal that is really unique to that particular submitter's process that they use. And while we're not adverse to understanding that, if that's going to help the safety community, again, we need to hear that there are other perspectives or other processes that can also be used, and it doesn't turn out to be a commercial message for that one speaker. So that, again, it's important that we try to present a more broad approach and give stakeholders and give attendees opportunities to understand what is out there and not just be guided into one use or one type of process.
Great, thank you, Mark. I see a question from Mina. Mina, Hugh, do you have your hand up? Okay, maybe that might be an errant hand, but if not, we'll please chime in. Thank you, Mark, for that. I guess maybe a little bit, I'll talk a little bit about the selection process and what happens. We want to make sure that how ICPHSO operates is open to everybody, and kind of what happens here. The proposals that come in don't go into some black box and are selected more on who and those types of things. This really is, we really do want to make sure that we are vetting the proposals that come in, and that there are a lot of eyes on what we're doing, and making sure that the program we put together is concise but really informative. So we do that by having a planning committee, and that planning committee is broken into different subcommittees depending on topic area. Once we see what comes in, we'll break them into general categories, and then the planning committee really does a lot of work going back and forth and reviewing the different proposals that come in. Just as far as the selection and acceptance rate, typically the selection rate is about 25 to 30%. That's the way it's been trending over the last couple of years. So if your proposal is not selected, that isn't necessarily a reflection on the quality of the proposal. There are a lot of proposals that come in and with a few slots, but really they're grouped together and with an eye towards relevancy towards the mission that Mark talked about, and the quality of the programming and consistency of the programming. So we encourage you, if you have submitted one before, please, and it wasn't accepted, again, please do not let that be a barrier. There are only about 25 to 30% that come in, but we're always looking for a new idea. So please do submit it if you have done that before. So this planning committee reviews and vets and makes recommendations on programs. So at this point, one of the things I did want to talk about was about speakers. we did say, you can recommend speakers, but we do ask that you do not make any commitments to speakers until we get a final approval for a submittal. So, you can have ideas about who your speakers should be or even if there's different categories, as going back to what Mark said about the balance of interest, you can select that and we can help find speakers as needed. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the resources that are there to do that. But please, we just want to make sure you don't make any commitments to anybody until you get a final approval. So once the planning committee goes through and vets and puts together a general recommendation, that goes to the executive committee, and the executive committee of ICPHSO reviews the proposals and just make sure that they're consistent with the criteria and about all the things we had just talked about that diversity, about the balance, the proprietary nature is not being touched on, those types of things. So then that will happen this year between September and October, and then we'll go out and then inform folks about where proposals have been. Now, just a note on that, it's not a binary go or no go sometimes with some of these proposals. There can be some interaction back and forth between the planning committee or myself and the proponents. So perhaps you have a proposal that might be very closely related to another proposal that was submitted, and they might make more sense or might be more powerful if they were maybe combined or just tweaked a little bit. So there is the possibility for some interaction going back and forth where the proposals can be tweaked, or maybe a little bit of feedback goes to enhance it. So it's not necessarily just submit it and let it fly, and then that's kind of where you are. So there can be some back and forth. So don't be discouraged if there is some communication back, just to do a tweak. So just sometimes it gives a little bit of broader perspective. So that's the proposal process. And then once that happens, then the agenda is set and we are off and are promoting the fabulous conference we want to have in 2023.
Hey, Len, I think we also ought to tell people that what we've started over the last year is when a proposal is not accepted, we are trying to provide some specific feedback as to how that proposal might be strengthened or tailored a little bit differently for a future conference. That's something that we've taken on over this past year, and hopefully that will be continued and a helpful tool for people who submit proposals, since we're only selecting about 25 to 30% of the proposals.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, Mark, for making that. And then one piece about that selection, the selection committees, they are also volunteers from ICPHSO. So that is also an open process that we do a call every year, usually at the conference itself. So if you're interested in getting involved in that process, we are encouraging people again to join those the program committees, because it's a very valuable service, and they put a lot of work and a lot of effort into reviewing the proposals. Okay, just to reinforce some of the tips that we touched on and others. So some definite no-goes. As Mark said, commercial pitches about processes, applications, or services specifically are definitely a no-go. There are flags that will not result in a proposal being selected. Similarly, outright political or advocacy positions that are not balanced by the contrary view, they are also flags for the proposals. But again, that does not mean we shy away from controversial subjects. The controversial subjects are the hard ones, and they're the ones that we should be addressing as a community. So if it's controversial, that's fine, but as long as it's not too skewed one way or another. So those are things to watch out for. And then proposals that are either off ICPHSO mission or are not sufficiently tied to the mission. Again, as I said, more short and concise and linking directly to the problem or the issue that you're trying to address or to highlight. Those are generally more successful. If they're not directly linked to our mission, it tends to not be successful. In other words, if it's not related to safety. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a lot of our proposals are related to either CPS, Consumer Product Safety Commission issues, or CPSC. That is not a requirement. We are a global organization and we deal with global issues. So issues that are not CPSC related are not a problem. In fact, we're looking for things to widen that perspective. So if you have issues that deal with maybe EPA regulations or NHTSA or European Commission or any other regulatory body around it, or not a regulatory body at all. But we get that question a lot, that, this doesn't deal with a CPSC issue. Is it still fair game? And the answer is absolutely yes, it is. So that doesn't have to be tied to that. Some do's to think about: think broadly and think globally. We don't have to be focused just on the domestic US market. As we said, ICPHSO is international. A diversity of interest, and that goes in the diversity of the audience that you're trying to reach, and the diversity of the speakers or the people who are contributing to your panel. We want to hear broad perspectives. We also want to hear new and fresh voices. So getting people who traditionally are speakers at ICPHSO conferences doesn't necessarily mean a successful thing. So don't everyone put Don Mays on your speaker list, because that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get on there. We want new, fresh faces, new, fresh perspectives. So even if the topic that we're talking about is something that has been well covered, whether it's standardization or recall effectiveness, getting new voices into the process is very helpful, because that makes us all grow and think a little differently. And then also, we want to make sure that we're engaging the audience. Unlike what I'm doing right here and just speaking to you and no one else having a voice, we want the audience to be engaged, to have a back and forth, so that we all grow from that. My pitch to all of you, and I see a lot of the names here, and I'm very, very glad to see a lot of good friends here who have been contributing to ICPHSO for a long time. Please continue to do that. For the new folks who have not participated in this before, thank you for being here and for listening to this, and for showing your interest. This ICPHSO program is guided by our thoughts and guided by the program committees, but it's really driven by you and by the proposals that you put in and the issues that you want to address. Our theme this year, we're lucky enough to be celebrating our 30th anniversary. So our general theme is to make sure we have a look back and celebrate some of the great things that have happened in product safety over the last 30 years since ICPHSO has been engaging, but more importantly, to look towards the future, to look at the current challenges we have, and to try to come up with solutions for things that are going to be coming down the road that we're not even aware of. And you all are living that. So, the flavor that you bring to this is going to be the richness of the program. So we have some resources available for you. I just want to touch on two. You're not all alone here. Number one, if you have not gone in to look at your profile for your ICPHSO membership, please go and do that. In the profile, there is a little tick box that you can tick off if you're interested in being a speaker or a participant at this event or future events. So please make sure you do that. And we do have a list of the folks who have said that they are interested in being speakers. So as you're putting together your proposal and you get stuck perhaps on a person or an interest that you're looking for, we do have a resource available through that process that can help us sort of matchmake you with a particular interest. So please look at your membership profile, check off if you want to be there, and if you're putting a proposal together, know that is there for you. And then also, all the previous agendas from our recent events are all posted up on the ICPHSO site. So you can go back if you're thinking about different, if you're new to this and you want to get a sense of what other types of proposals have been accepted and how they've been structured. That's a great resource to go back to, because there are descriptions of what those programs are like, and you can get a sense of the different types of interest that have participated in those panels. So that is there as well. And then also, if you have questions about something, if you're mulling it over and not sure if it's appropriate or whatnot, you can certainly reach out to me as the program chair, or our bold and audacious leader, Mark Schoen, who's here to answer questions. And we'll be happy to talk it out and help you through that. And also, one last thing, I'll make a pitch that if you're looking to get some practice on developing a proposal, I believe that the international event that we're having in November still has their proposal submissions are open. I think it's closing really soon, but please, you can also submit something for the international. And many times, if a proposal is submitted to the international and isn't selected, it is sent to us to review for the appropriateness of the annual meeting. Sometimes it may not be appropriate for that particular event, but it is better for the wider audience. So you may get two shots at that with a proposal. So with that, I'm going to just pause and see if my colleagues have anything else to add or correct, and then make sure that we have a chance to answer everybody's questions that you might have. So Mark, Aaron, Kim?
Nothing on my part. You did great.
Aaron, good. Kim, good. You just ran a fantastic program in Seattle, so I'll take any advice that you might have, so that's great.
One thing, as having sat in on the committees where we're evaluating the proposals, one thing that makes it easy as a reviewer is if you're specific as to what the content is going to be and the benefit to the audience. I've read through some proposals that are very, very long, have a lot to say, but you don't really know what the goal is in the panel. So if you make it more specific to the point, here's what, the broad topic we wish to discuss, and here's what the topics we're going to cover, and here's the benefit to the participants that will be listening to it. That really makes it easier, and it helps your proposal to stand out among, like, for a given topic, maybe 10 or 12 other proposals. So that's just something to keep in mind as you're submitting proposals.
Thank you, Kim. Very helpful, and very important. I do see we have a couple of questions. I see from Hyson An from the Korea Consumer Agency asking about the sponsorships for businesses for the tabletop exhibits and our exhibits, and just looking for the sponsorship program dates. I don't know those. I'm going to refer to Erin if we have those yet.
Sure. Right now, our sponsorship manager is working on an initial draft. Normally, we open that sponsorship prospectus towards the end of the summer. So look for it, an email and a posting on our website, I would say in August, the end of August timeframe.
Great. Thank you, Erin.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Don Mays, you have a question, sir?
Yeah, thanks, Len. The scope of the proposal is going to be probably dependent upon the amount of time allotted for it. In the past, the general sessions have been 1 hour and 15 minutes. Will it continue to be that, or does the timing change depending upon the session?
Yeah, I think we're going to remain. That's a great question. Thanks, Don. We are going to remain consistent with that, I think, for our plenaries, and we're going to stay around that timing. There could be some shorter breakout sessions and the tutorial sessions. So depending upon the scope of what they are, they could be a shorter time. But for the plenary sessions and the bigger programs, we're going to try and remain consistent with that, about 1 hour and 15 minutes.
Great, thank you.
Great question. Any other, and again, we can go, there can be some back and forth on that as well, depending upon, that's something the program committee will look at too. If the scope of what you're trying to do is sort of out of line with, with the time allotted, we'll probably go back with some feedback on that. Great. Any other questions, comments, anything that we didn't cover that you want us to have covered? Okay, there's a question. I have not attended the session before. What are the demographics? Well, I think, so that's from Jason, I believe. I can talk generally about that, and maybe my colleagues can jump in on a little bit more. But we generally expect about 800 or so, maybe a little higher, hopefully this year, 800 attendees. And as I said, it's a very diverse group. So we have a very large contingent of manufacturers, retailers. There's a heavy legal presence there, distributors, consumer advocates, and regulators, and international regulators. So we have from across the globe. So we have a large Asian contingent that comes from the APAC region. We have South American colleagues who are going to be coming. In fact, we're even looking this year at having some more regionally specific regulatory content. Traditionally in the past, we had what we call our CPSC day, which was Wednesday. We are looking, based on some feedback that we've gotten, to expand that to not just focus domestically on CPSC regulatory issues, but to have folks from Latin America, from the APEC region, from Australia, from the European Union. So we're looking to actually retool that to bring other perspectives in. So we're hoping that this year is even more diverse than in past because of that structural change. But I know the issues that we're looking at, again, are global, right? Supply chain issues are worldwide issues, sourcing issues, recall effectiveness. So we are looking to get a very broad, diverse perspective. So I hope that answered your question, but I'd be glad to follow up or have my colleagues follow up if there's more, if you want more granularity on that. Okay, from Erwin Lau, thanks. Do you have examples of the format for a topic session? Yeah, we've had a host of different types of formats. We have a lot of sessions are sort of moderated panel discussions, but we've had fireside chats. We've had demonstrations, case studies that have been interactive case studies where the audience is asked to sort of contribute to the direction of the program. There really is not a singular format that we're sticking to. I think folks are most in their mind, they think about the moderated panel discussion, but we've had other interesting things. We've had, product safety jeopardy that happened. It was interactive and did a real good job of embarrassing some of us. So there are a lot of different types of sessions. So you can propose whatever you want, and we'll provide feedback. But something new, or you have a different moderation. We'd love to hear the ideas because we don't have to do it exactly the same way we've always done it. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I have one question for you all.
I'm sorry, Lynn. Erwin has asked if there's sample schedules from past years. Yes, that's located on our website under conferences and then past conference agendas. I believe we have, I think all the way back to 2016 are the agendas from all the different conferences we've held.
Great question. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, as I said, this is something new. Mark's always challenging the board to make sure that we're reaching out and getting our message out, and so that we're open and transparent. So I think one of the things that we're really trying to do is make sure that the membership understands how we go about developing these processes, developing the programs, and making sure that you all know that you're really the ones that are driving the bus on this. So I think that this session and having this opportunity to talk about what goes into the proposals ahead of time, I think was valuable to me anyway, because it helped me to get my thoughts together. So I would love to know from you some, informal feedback at some point down the road, either through an email or if you run up to one of us at the conference. Was this helpful for you? And if not, what other things would you like to see? A lot of this information that we talked about here will be available as part of the call for proposal. So, it does kind of go over some of the things we talk about, the relevant criteria, the diversity of the interests and who they are, and some of these tips, the goes and no-goes. So you will see that again. The program is recorded, so you'll be able to access that as well. So with that, I don't know, Aaron, do you think it's valuable to show the job form about what to expect, what to see? Let me show that quickly. So everyone should see this on or about the 25th. So the call for proposals is quite simple. And it walks you through the who you are, what your contact information is, and then goes into your, just gives you some fill-in fields, so you can do your overview. And you can see the overview is limited, back to the being short and concise. And it will ask you, who your audience is, what it would align with, and so on. So it's a pretty simple form, but it pulls all the relevant information, helps walk you through the thought process, so you make sure that you're hitting all the things that we touched on today. And this is great because if Aaron submits this, that we'll already have one proposal in the bank. That's great. It talks about who your audience type is, who the focus will be, and so on. And then it goes through the speaker information and so on. And then this will start the process going. All right. Any other last thoughts or comments, questions, suggestions that we missed? Thank you, Aaron, for that. Okay, well, this has been great. I really appreciate everyone sitting here and listening here for about 40 minutes. Again, this is meant to help you out. I do see a lot of names that I recognize, so I will be coming after you if I don't see proposals, Travis, so on. But just kidding. But no, we really are looking for your input to help make this just a fantastic conference. We had a great return to ICPHSO in Maryland, and we're really looking for this to get back and take advantage of all the networking and just the great stuff that goes around the ICPHSO conference that just is grounded in fantastic content. So thank you all for your time and for spending it with us here. And we're looking forward to seeing you all in February. But if not, we're looking forward to seeing you in November prior to that at our international conference. And don't forget that the conference proposal date is still open. So get those in quick for the November conference. So with that, that's all I have, Mark.
Thanks. That was great. Appreciate it. And everyone have a great day, evening, morning.
Great. Thank you all. Have a great one. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.